Hi, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. I am coming at you from the Louisville area. I am taking a little writer's retreat, working on my new book on shame, healing toxic shame through recovery. And I thought I would take a break from my writing and spend a little bit of time making some videos. And I had one today that I wanted to share. And that is, when it comes to love, it's impossible to put away childish things. When I was a second year clinical social work graduate student at Michigan State University, way back in 1986, I think if my fellow students would have, and my professors for that matter, would have taken a vote, I'm pretty sure I would have won least likely to succeed. Graduate school was a little bit difficult for me. I was coming out of a different paradigm where my first plan was to go into the ministry, and I wasn't so sure about all this therapy business, and I really had my doubts about it. Plus, I had a little bit of a difficult personality, and that led to some issues as well. So I was struggling through graduate school and trying to fit the pieces of my style and my issues together when things started to change for me. My practicum instructor, her name was Olga something or other, at a community mental health center in Lansing. She gave me an article, and the article was by a writer named Maggie Scarf. And it was an article in the November 1986 edition of the Atlantic Monthly, and it was entitled Intimate Partners. And in this article is where I learned a lot of the foundational theory that we use here at Family Tree Counseling Associates. It became the seed that eventually grew Family Tree. So I wanted to talk about this article. You can Google Atlantic Monthly, November 1986, Maggie Scarf, Intimate Partners, and you'll come up with that article with any combination of those Google terms. Maggie Scarf, Intimate Partners, Atlantic Monthly, November 1986. So it's became the theoretical foundation that I use and that I've taught the other 10 counselors in our practice. So if you know me very well, you know what that theoretical foundation is, and that is we all marry our issues. We think we're escaping home, but we marry home. Closely aligned with that is the concept that there are no victims in marriage. Everybody marries exactly the right person. And whatever they dish out, evidently that's what you needed, because that's what you recruited, and that's what you have chosen to stay with. Another aspect of this paradigm is all of our romantic inclinations are formed by our childhood wounds. Do you ever wonder why you like who you like? You know, if there's two gals that are, pretty and attractive, why you like the one and not the other? And it's because when we get wounded, we get cut in our souls, and out of that scar tissue, our unresolved issues forms who we're attracted to. That's how the system works. You can be young and deaf, dumb, blind, and stupid at 22, not know who you are, not know who your beautiful new bride is, but if you just pay attention to one thing, and that is, who do you like? Does your heart go pitter-pat when that sweet thing walks by, just pay attention to that. You can't go wrong. You can go wrong. Usually what I tell people is, she was so wrong for you, she was right for you. And that's what love is. So, and that we always marry exactly the right person for the purpose of having an opportunity to work on your unresolved childhood issues. So I get couples in. I had one in the other day, and they were fussing at each other in their first session, and I pointed out that each other was a gift. And they were like saying, it don't look like a gift to me. He does not look like a gift. She does not look like a gift. But that's exactly what marriage is. It's the gift of emotional pain to get to reenact your family of origin stuff. So I wanted to share a few quotes that I've really liked a lot from Maggie Scarf's article, Intimate Partners. And here's the first one. To some degree, when we become adults, most of us do not put away childish things. In the very process of choosing our mates and of being chosen, and then in elaborating upon our separate past lives in the life we create together, we are deeply influenced by the patterns of being that we observed and learned about very early in life, and that live on inside our heads. I'm going to read that again. To some degree, when we become adults, most of us have not put away childish things. In the very process of choosing our mates and of being chosen, and then in elaborating upon our separate past lives in the life we create together, we are deeply influenced by the patterns for being that we observed and learned about very early in life that live on inside our heads. So she's riffing off there's a scripture that talks about putting away childish things. And we like to think that, when we reach 21, 22, 23 years old, we like to think that we've become adults and that we have an opportunity to move on from our childhood and make our own lives and define our own way of being in the world. And that is not the case, my friends. That's an illusion. When we're in our early 20s, our psychological defenses that Mother Nature provided for us are still very much intact. So when I get people in their mid, even sometimes late 20s, I question whether or not they're really going to be a good candidate for therapy, because generally it takes getting into mid 30s. The sort of the sweet spot of when the biggest majority of people, their walls come crashing down and their marriage blows up is between about 35 and 45. And it's stretching out, on to 50 now these days. But we go to the wedding and we all stand around and we sing songs about blissful love and lifelong love, and the minister gives a sermon, and everybody's all dressed up, and we drink, we dance the night away, and no one says, hey kids, it ain't what you think it is. It ain't what you think it is. It's like we all want to sort of, return to our innocence and our naivety and our make-believe fairyland of once you fall in love, it's all, downhill after that in terms of the difficulty. The difficulty has just begun. Most couples get anywhere from about 7 to 10 years where it is pretty easy. That's designed by Mother Nature. Mother Nature wants you to get married, wants you to have children, wants you to propagate the species. but Mother Nature also would like to heal the unresolved wounds that you have from your childhood. So Mother Nature needed a can opener, something that would cut open your defenses. So what Mother Nature does is she employs a Trojan horse. We fall in love with this idealized, fabulous, near perfect creature. And then 7 to 10 years later, we leave that enmeshment and we drift apart. And when we drift apart, then we see who that person really is. And we come to realize that who that person really is very similar to the worst qualities of the people who brought us up. So that comes as a shock to many people. What we do in our practice is we do a very intense assessment, and then during feedback we'll write on the board, here's your mom, here's your dad, here's husband number one or boyfriend, and here's boyfriend number two, here's husband, and we just write down what you tell us. And it's spooky and startling and shocking what people learn. Because what they learned is you fall in love and marry people that are very much like the person who hurt you the most. And it really has very little to do with opposite sex. That's a myth. A woman isn't any more likely to pick a man like her dad. If her mom was the one who hurt her the most, she's going to pick somebody like her mom. So that's what love is. So let me, so how I like to say it is, we think that we're leaving home and we're moving on and we're in control, but really what we're really doing is jumping from the frying pan right into the fire. Because you can leave your mom and daddy, but it's harder to leave a spouse when you have children. That's a big price tag, a big ticket out. Another quote from Maggie Scarf: "The partners in such repetitive sequences, usually unaware that their problem is a resurrection of one that existed earlier and elsewhere in the extended system, are startled when they come to see that particular charged issue standing out in high relief." I love that. So I've seen that look of startle in thousands of faces. When you come to Family Tree, what we're looking for is what are the patterns? And it doesn't, I tell people, it really doesn't take a brain surgeon. We get 4 generations on one piece of paper, and then we just look at it. And we look at, this is what was described as dad, this is mom, and the patterns they just jump out. It's very, very easy, to do. So people come in and they're too close to the forest to see the trees when it comes to their own family of origin issues. And I like to say that if your life is a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, what we do, and most people that I work with, I would say they've only got maybe 30% of the jigsaw put together, tops. A lot of times maybe it's 20%. So after an assessment, which takes either 2 or 3 hours with one of our therapists, we're going to put together about 80-85% of that jigsaw puzzle, and we're going to flip it around and show it to you. And boom, that's a startling thing to know that Mother Nature had a design, and your life isn't random. All your relationships fit together. All of your relationships make perfect sense. And they really do fit together like a jigsaw puzzle. Another quote: "Do we imbibe our family's psychological issues and concerns along with the mother's milk that we drink? Families are such affect-laden little social systems that people who live in them just know each other's truths in ways that are almost magical. They know them without ever being told, because they are first truths of existence to which each of us is exposed Our family's truths are embedded within us, and in our lives, these truths struggle to make themselves known. That's a killer quote. I'm going to read it again. Do we imbibe our family's psychological issues and concerns along with mother's milk that we drink? No, it doesn't come in the mother's milk, but it gets fed early on. Families are such affect-laden little social systems that people who live in them can know each other's truths in ways that are almost magical. They know them without ever being told, because they are first truths of existence to which each of us is exposed. And our family truths are embedded within us, and in our lives, these truths struggle to make themselves known. And that's what we do. We try to figure out what's true in a marriage, in a life. Don't come to therapy unless you want to know what's true. I tell people I only really know one thing and I only have one skill. The thing I know is you do marry whoever, somebody very similar to the person who hurt you the most growing up. I know that for a fact. And the skill I have is I'm able to get that in most people. So I tell people, I'm not trying to make you feel better. I'm not even trying to save your marriage. I'm trying to get you to see stuff that's true. And you'll either get it or you'll flee the building. One or the other. I really don't care which. I prefer people stay and get in recovery and learn and refer their family and friends. But I'm committed to telling people what's true and helping them figure out the pieces of their life. But many times people, they're not coming to learn truth about themselves. They're not coming to be cut open and to have their wounded little kid, feel the depth of that pain. They're coming because they want to fuss at the other person or blame them. They're coming because they feel like a victim and they're looking for a witness or a referee that'll penalize the other party. So I remember when I was in college, I went to a Christian college the first 2.5 years, and one of my roommates was a real good guy, but he was a little bit judgmental. And he went home for Christmas and he observed some marriages in his family system, or maybe I think it was somebody in his church, and where people were not getting along and they were distant and they were harsh with one another. And he told me, he said, that's never going to happen to me. And I actually knew his wife. I think they got married a week before I did to my wife. And but I think he was naive. I think that we all go through difficult patches in marriage and life. And his faith, I'm sure, was a help to he and his wife, but that isn't going to keep him from having really rough parts in the marriage and having dark places. So young people, you look at us old folk, and you think we're goofy because you see the marital problems, the divorces, but young love, give it some time. You should not cast the first stone until you get to be 50 years old. So I just encourage people to embrace the pain of your marriage. It's there to teach you something. It's there that you have opportunities to learn, opportunities to heal, and find out where you really came from. So there is a wounded little kid in your core, and it would do you wonderful good to get acquainted with that wounded little kid and really cry, get angry, do what you have to do. But it's what life is about. So, and I do want to thank the author Maggie Scarf. She changed my life with that article back in 1986, and she has helped thousands of couples and families and individuals since family tree counseling started in 1989. And some of her insights have become central truths and become light that is shone upon those lives and impacted them. And I am so thankful for that. So thank you for watching today, and embrace those childish things, because that's what marriage is made of. That's what life is made of. That's where we're all just big kids walking around in old bodies. So God bless you.